To extend data management and just give you a little bit better idea about a few things that it does, let me show you data paging, which is item number 7. So right here, inside of this application, I created a little example. And it's just a data grid. So notice that in order to use data management, it's for, let's say, with paging, there is a class that is like the core class called active records, and that class is provided to you by the code generator. Okay, so in order to load all the records from, let's say, product table, you just use the find all method. The find all has some parameters that you can specify. In this case, this parameter is called, it's just a plain object with the special property called page size. So if you set the page size to number 2, it's going to be fetching 2 records at a time. Okay, and we just set the data provider for this data grid to be the products array collection. And the products array collection is populated through this call. Now notice that whenever you make this call, it gives you a value into product. So it looks like you're actually making a synchronous invocation. Okay, while you know that in Flex nothing is synchronous. So we do there's some trickery in there with some very interesting design patterns and just how we use ActionScript to give you a container, just an array collection, and then once we get the result back from the backend, we populate exactly the same instance that we gave you with all the data. And the effect of this is going to be like this. So it's just a data paging. Here it is. Now since the server and the client is on the same server, you cannot actually see the effect of data paging because fetching 2 records at a time with AMF is ultra fast. But it is there. So just trust me on this, or if you try it with something that has a lot more records in the table, you'll definitely see the effect of paging. Okay, so that's paging. Now, as far as the actual basic usage of data management, here's another example, which is fairly trivial. I do have a data grid here. Okay, and notice that for the data provider, all I do is just active records.product.findAll. Okay, that's it. So just literally one-liner to get all the records into this particular data grid. And if I run it, so here it is. We just fetched all the records. Okay. There are some other cool things that you want to do, that you can do. For instance, let's say we want to load a product that the name is bananas. Okay, and this is how you do it. So you just say find by name, and you put bananas as the argument. Now notice that the find by name is not a method that exists at the compile time. Okay, and this method is dynamic. So once I run this, I wonder if it compiled. Or maybe my browser is caching something. Let me just clear cache in my Safari. And reload. Here it is, bananas. So with just slightly modifying the method call, we can fetch anything we want to. So you can actually create some very complex queries just by modifying the method. Okay. So in this case, name is the name of the column, and bananas is the value. So WebWork automatically interprets it, creates a SQL query, and just runs it. Okay. So that's data paging. And let's move to number 8, which is client synchronization. Okay. So also something that is very important when you build data-driven applications. Okay. And for client synchronization, let me show you how that would work. Let me just close some of these. Okay. And just run, first of all, let's run test drive. So here's our test drive. And let's also run our, let's say, basic data loading and just get all the records in there. Find all. Save. Okay, so let me just run basic data loading. Okay, I'm going to split it into 2 windows so we can see them side by side. Now notice that these are 2 separate apps. Okay, and in one of them, let's say I take these bananas and I change them to like cool bananas. Okay, and when I save this record, notice that in the other one, they turn into cool bananas as well. Okay, so what happened now? This application is as basic as it can be. Here it is, basic data loading. Yet it is automatically enabled for client synchronization. So when two clients, or when one of the clients makes a change to a record, and that record is in possession of some other client, WebWork automatically notifies all clients that have this record and sends them an event saying that this record has changed, or a new record is created, or a record is deleted, and so on. So that's client synchronization. Client synchronization is done by data push if that connection is available, or the client automatically switches to polling and fetches the data by using poll. Okay, so there are a few questions that we have here. Can together Spring with Flex? So if you're asking about whether you can use whether you can invoke Spring Beans from Flex, yes, and that's what I started with in this webinar, and just go back and watch the recording once it is available. I show how to do the invocations of Spring Beans from Flex early on in this webinar. Okay. Let's see. Jeff is asking whether code generation offers developers customizable subclass implementations that are safe from further code generation attempts. Excellent question, and the answer, yes, it does. So let's take a look at how the code is structured. So the code in this food and drinks, which is the namespace that I specified when I was generating the code, has two sets. So one set of code is under the code gen folder, and all of the classes start with underscore, and the other code is right here. Okay, so anything that you see right here are really just placeholders. So let me just open account, and you see this is just a dynamic class that has nothing in it. And data mapper, also dynamic class that has nothing in it. So these are placeholders for your code. Okay, the actual code that has all the logic in it is in the code gen folder. So here it is, the account with all the properties. Here's the data mapper with all the logic. So whenever you regenerate the code, all you need to do is to replace the code gen folder. And you're not supposed to make any changes inside of the code gen folder anyway. Okay, but any of these classes are there to stay, and they contain your custom code. Exactly the same situation is on the server side. So the Java code that WebWork generates also has two subsets. One that you can replace after you regenerated the code, and the other one is there for customization purposes. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Jeff. Okay, that's it. No more questions, so let's just move on to the next thing. So I just showed you client synchronization. Okay, RTMP support. So RTMP support is something that is also a very solid part of WebWork. So RTMP, if you're not familiar with it, it's a real-time messaging protocol. It's the protocol that you can use over a dedicated socket that, let's say, Flex or Flash client establishes, or .NET client, because we provide .NET support on there for RTMP as well. So client establishes a socket, and over that socket, a lot of different things could happen. So let's say if it's a Flash or Flex client, you can do streaming video, you can record video from your webcam into a file, you can do broadcasts. There is also a feature called remote shared objects, where you can connect to sort of a special type of hash table that is hosted on the server side, and that hash table can be modified by different clients. Once one client modifies that hash table, it is automatically, the server notifies all other clients. So I will not be going into a whole lot of details about RTMP, because we do have another webinar that is dedicated to data messaging and media streaming, specifically for Java, and that one is coming up in January. Let me quickly look up when it's going to be. And so January 27th is when we're going to have the webinar dedicated to messaging. We just did last week a webinar on this specific subject for Flex and .NET, and it's already in our blog. So if you want to check it out to get an idea what RTMP can offer you, you're welcome to do that there. But for this, just as a quick demonstration, what I did is in my instance of WebWork, find it right here. So in my instance of WebWork, I deployed a file. So here it is. Here's just an FOV file sitting in a special folder called Streams. Okay, and And also I created a very trivial application on the Flex side called video streaming, and let me show you what the code for that looks like. So right here, from the design perspective, there is a play video button, there is a video. This is just a VBox that will contain my video, and this is sort of a log area where I will display any kind of status messages. So to walk you through the code, whenever application is constructed, called the init method, inside of it I create net connection, and I set the event listener, and then I connect to my instance of WebWork. Okay, and when this button is clicked, here it is, button, I invoke stream video, and inside of this I create a net stream object. Also, I dynamically create a UI component, add it to my VBox right here, and I start streaming this file starwars.fob. So let me show you how that would work. So here it is, my connection is established. I click play video. So here it is. Here's the Star Wars streaming for you, and this is not a progressive download. It's a real video where you can fast forward or rewind at any point of time, and it also supports H.264 encoding, so you can stream HD video. But that's just one of the features that you get. Streaming video. You can also record video. You can broadcast and use remote shared objects. For all the details for that, please come back for our webinar on January 27th when we talk about everything related to that.